And hello, everybody. Welcome back to another great episode of TECSpertZ here. Anthony Bove on the mic, along with Max, Markayla, and Brendan. We are going to be talking about the latest news of sports here at East Carolina University. Well, last weekend, very interesting what happened here. ECU football was in action, playing Charleston Southern. Final score 31-28. And wow, this was a nail-biter in which it should not have been such a nail-biter. We were supposed to blow them out of the water. I mean, probably looking at, I believe, a 25-point favorite. Was not the case. We just barely got over the hump there. And so we're going to break this all down. We're looking forward to this weekend's matchup against Tulane. Homecoming. It's going to be this Saturday at 3:30, but let's backtrack a tad and talk about what occurred this past weekend. Before we get into that, TECSpertZ is sponsored by The Big Vape Theory and East Carolina University's Office of Undergraduate Research. And TECSpertZ is a collaboration between WZMB and the East Carolinian. Brennan, take it away.
Well, let's get right into ECU versus Charleston Southern. You said it was 28-31. That was a score I predicted. I'm pretty proud about that one.
How about that one? Nicely done.
All right. It wasn't gone off of a made or miss field goal like I said it was going to be, but it was.
We're not getting that picky.
Not that picky. A couple of late touchdowns for the opposition allowed Charleston Southern to get up to 28 points at the end of the game. I thought it was a pretty good game all the way around. Mm-hmm. Yep. Holton threw well. Holton threw 17 for 26 and threw for 238 yards. He threw for 2 interceptions and only a single touchdown. However, one of his touchdowns, I guess, could have been given to him, but it was given to Mason Garcia instead for his first action, and he ran in the touchdown for the team.
Yeah, after watching this game, I would say there are 2 undeniable truths that I've taken from this game. One, this was a big win. I mean, looking at a 2-2 season coming into 3 games that we feel we can win, all we need to do is steal 1. It's a big win. That's undeniable. However, it's also undeniable that this was not a pretty win.
Right.
This win was ugly, and at the end of the day, at least you're putting a W into the win column. But now we got a couple things that we need to address coming into this week. First, Tulane, which is going to be a much tougher matchup, which I think we're actually thought to lose this game. We're the underdog coming into this game. Personally, my thought is this is the game we have to steal. Coming off a 2-game win streak, we've proven in the past that we could throw against Tulane, so I'm expecting a more pass-heavy offense than we're used to from ECU if I feel like we're going to take the actions to win. But personally, this is the game for me that we have to steal if we want to get those 6 wins.
Yeah, I think there's a definite chance that we can win this game, but I think it's going to come down to we need to get in the end zone quicker than we have been and keep getting in there once we do. We've started this 17-0, 14-0, but we don't need to come back from the deficits. If we can get on top, I think we can stay on top. But having to work back up there is just not doing us any good.
Yeah, and you know what? We scored 24 points in the second quarter, which we kind of exploded there, which was great for us. We didn't score anything in the fourth, which is actually why, and which led to the game kind of getting on pins and needles there in the last few minutes of the game.
Did not score anything in the first, did not score anything in the fourth.
Yeah.
We were a prime middle game team right there, putting up a bunch. Second quarter explosion with 24 points, as we said, down 14-0. Now, that was exciting to watch. I like seeing that. I like seeing that our offense was bouncing back. Our defense was coming back, playing very hard. But then again, football is 4 quarters. I mean, I think Charleston Southern overall played a better overall game around the clock. ECU had a couple of big explosions, but then late in the game, Holton threw 2 picks, allowing Charleston Southern to really get back in it. You know, and that's what we can't do. Holton, when given time throughout the first to third quarter, he made some phenomenal reads. I think that's unarguable. You can't argue that Holton delivered some absolute dimes this game. He was definitely helped out by Keaton Mitchell's big run, about 73 yards, and then C.J. Johnson breaking that tackle and taking it to the house. But he did make some very good reads. One to Tyler Snead that we think should have been a touchdown, overruled, and then given it to Mason Garcia. But he was delivering some absolute bombs, and so definitely some good stuff. But when not given the time, when rushing himself and feeling too confident, he's making those bad throws that we need to address. I mean, it's not as much a moral victory for Holton, I think, coming out of, as if it was coming out of that Marshall game.
To piggyback off what you're saying there, Keaton Mitchell, 13 carries, 125 yards, and a touchdown, leading the way in the rushing game, and I think that was definitely a key point of our victory here for East Carolina, so that's good news right there.
I think for us, their quarterback, Jack Chambers, was amazing. He got 402 passing yards. He can run. He was
405, don't mean incorrect, yes.
Okay, no, good, thank you. He is running it, he's passing it, and like if our defense wasn't as good as we are, they could have ran away with that game even much more than they did. So our defense keeps us from losing, but our offense is going to make us win. So we got to keep that up. We got to pass it. We know all these penalties, all these sacks that we're getting. We got to cut that up if we're going to keep winning.
Yeah, defensively, Jaquan McMillan snagged an interception and ran that back all the way for a touchdown, and that was beautiful to watch
exciting.
defensively.
I completely agree with you, Markayla. I think Chambers played a really great game. Now, one thing that I do take away from this stat is that Chambers threw 38 for 61. Now, 61 passing attempts in a game, that is insane.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
That is insane. Whether or not he ended up running it or whether or not he did throw it, that is insane. And so I think that's a big win for the defense. I think if they can force them to throw the ball, it's more risky. You know, we want them to throw the ball against our defense. We don't want them to be able to ground and pound us. So if we're locking up that run game and forcing them to throw, we're going to get that interception. It might take 61 attempts, but we're going to get one.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that I do like from the defense. I completely agree with you. Our defense is keeping us in these games.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they've shown huge growth coming out of that App State game when they just got completely walked over, couldn't stop them for anything. And then even show the grit in the second quarter, holding them. Second and third quarter, holding Charleston Southern after they were walking all over us as well is very impressive. But the offense really has to make some better reads.
Yeah.
Looked extremely well in the second quarter, but we got to spread those points out a little bit.
And we definitely need to cut down on the penalties and a lot of those little things that are happening there, the holdings, the pass interference, all those kind of things.
And the
gotta
taunting.
Yeah, well, that
penalties.
too. Yeah, sure.
They get there. I mean, I
Just
don't
little
like
things like that.
little things like that. I don't like being penalized for something that has nothing to do with the game.
Yeah.
You know, make your tackle, move on. Made a great play. We all know it. To me, being old school, I think that's a little selfish. I understand taunting. I understand trash talking and celebrating, but
It's part of the game.
it's part of the game.
Yeah.
But if you want to help your team win, I don't think there's a spot for it.
That's exactly what Houston said after the game. He was like, the guys cannot play selfish, cannot listen to the noise, because that was 108 yards that we lost because of all the 9 penalties. So that's exactly what Houston said. He used the word selfish. He was like, we can't keep doing that if we're going to keep winning games, because that's just throwing yardage away.
Yeah. Another area of concern that I think we should talk about is the scoreless first and fourth quarter, which is kind of abnormal, I feel like, for this ECU team, because typically we bust out a really big play on the first play of the game, and then we'll score 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter to try to mount a comeback. But that middle section is usually rough for us. The second quarter especially. We'll always have a great first quarter, come into the second quarter and do nothing. So I think it's an area of concern that we flipped it so easily and weren't able to do something in the first and fourth quarter. And I feel like going forward, that's something that we cannot do. We need to be able to keep consistency.
Yeah. The key is putting together 4 good quarters of football.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not you score 24 points in one, if you're scoring consecutively throughout the time, you're also eating clock throughout each quarter.
Right.
So I completely agree. It's not about having 1 quarter explosions. It's about putting together 4 good quarters of football to mount a big win.
And nonetheless, against an opponent like Charleston Southern, you
Right.
would think that we would have a big explosion in all 4 quarters, not just the second and third there.
Mm-hmm.
So against a team like this, a very winnable team here, I mean, going into this past week, we were saying, hey, let's even this thing up. Let's get a win here. We're going to pretty much knock them out of the park. And, you know, we did win. We didn't knock them out of the park, but just getting by barely there, only by 3 points to show for it against a team that definitely should have got beat up. This would have been the game to explode in all 4 quarters.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But
I
now
mean, that first quarter was so bad. Holton was getting booed.
Right.
Like, it was that bad. And then as soon as they started booing, they were quiet again when the second quarter started.
And then the fans got back into it.
Yeah.
So
But, I mean, the key is here is we got 3 games ahead of us that we feel we should be able to win, just like this Charleston Southern game.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we can't be coming in here playing like we did the first quarter against Charleston Southern, against Temple or Navy or you know, South Florida. We're going to get beaten. I mean, they're better than Charleston Southern, but we still think we should beat them.
Right.
But, I mean, we got to have 4 good quarters of football to beat any of those teams. And the same with the rest of our lineup. The rest of our schedule. I think Tulane, for me, is the game we have to win, but we don't win it if we play like we did this week.
Well, and let's speak right into what you're just talking about here. Tulane this upcoming weekend, this Saturday, 3:30 start. Tulane is coming into town to play East Carolina in Dowdy-Ficklen Stadium, and this should be interesting here because, well, conference play now starts.
Yeah.
And this is a team that we've seen before many times. We know a lot about them. We know what they're going to bring to the table. So as far as predictions-wise, what are we thinking here this weekend against Tulane? hopeful to get a win. Where do we think? Let's start with Markayla.
Okay, let's see. I'm going to say 38-31. I think that we can get to that 38 mark. We got 31 last time. If we get another touchdown, I think being at home, like we keep saying, being at home, homecoming is going to be so loud and there's going to be so many people. I think that's going to help. I think coming off of 2 wins, and all the guys are excited to be getting into that conference play, so I feel like they're going to be really determined to play 4 quarters like we said. I think they're going to be able to get in there and stop them.
So it's homecoming. We can't lose our homecoming, right?
Yeah. Right.
But I'm thinking ECU is capable of 28 points against this team. 28 points is looking good. I'm thinking maybe 28-14. I don't know if it's going to be as high scoring as last week or the week prior. But yeah, we'll go with 28-14.
And you know what? You got the score correct last week. Hoping to go
Hopefully.
2 for 2 here.
Yeah.
So we'll
Hopefully
see
we're going 2 for 2.
if luck is on your side on this one.
Yeah.
Max, what do you got?
I think I'm going to go 24-21 ECU to win homecoming. Just like last week, I think defense is going to be key. I don't think our offensive struggles are going to fade away by any means in 1 week, especially when we're playing against a tougher Tulane defense. I expect our offensive struggles to continue for the remainder of the season. As much as I would like to say it's going to go away, I do expect them to continue. I expect Holton to make some phenomenal throws throughout the season, but I also expect him to make some really bad reads and throw a couple picks a game, which way we can't play that way and win, but our defense has been picking them up. So I think coming off of 2 wins, knowing that they have to steal a win and they want to steal it early, I expect them to come out playing very well against Tulane. And in the past, we've proven we could throw it against the Tulane defense. So I think we need to rely more on that pass, give Holton some more time, because he will make that dime throw if given the time, and then let Mitchell pound it when we can.
Right.
And I think that's how we win 24-21.
Here's a little background here of Tulane's last few games and how they've been playing score-wise, because this is a team that can put up points.
Yes.
I mean, you're looking at here, Tulane 58-6 against Missouri State. They did lose against Oklahoma, but they put up 35 points against Oklahoma. They beat Morgan State 69-20. They did get absolutely beat up by Mississippi, but still put up 21 points. I mean, this is a team that can put up some fight here. So I feel like there's going to be a lot of scoring going on. I wonder if we can, meaning East Carolina, can keep up with that scoring, which is something that I'd be a little worried about. But maybe this East Carolina defense can prove a little something and put them to bed here a little bit. So, and it might be that day. So I'm going to go 20-17, the score this weekend for homecoming against Tulane. How about that one?
That's a big one. And I mean, like you said with those scores, that's not a team that has a little fight. That's a dynamite team.
Yeah.
That if given put in the right position against the right team. Now, they're not a team that can compete at that same potential with everyone. But to lose to Oklahoma but still put up 35 points, now, again, that's going to win you a lot of games. 35 points will win you a lot of games.
Right.
So they're not just a little fight. This is definitely our toughest test so far, I think. Maybe the only other case you can make is App State, but definitely a really tough test, and having to come home and, expected to lose this game, I think we really need to come out on fire, and I think we need to throw. I mean, I've said that every week. I think throwing the ball is going to be our key this season. Even if it's tough for Holton to get a good read, we need to lock that read down because we pick up a lot of yards when we throw. I mean, we're not picking up these rinky-dinky, 4 or 5 yard passes. If given the time, Holton's throwing 20, 30, 40-yard passes. So I think we need to really lean into that because we don't know how many opportunities we're going to get against this Tulane defense.
I think it's definitely going to come down to that and how well we run the ball. If we run the ball like we did last week, we might be in business here. We might be in good business.
I'm very interested in seeing how Keaton Mitchell's playing this season. I mean, he's playing absolutely phenomenal. Putting up a lot of yards this season, breaking off for some big runs. I know Rajay Harris was our guy last year, but, and he's still one of our guys. He's been great in the short field for us, putting up a couple crucial touchdowns this year. But Keaton Mitchell's really been our guy in the nitty gritty, really getting down there and fighting through that offensive line. And I think that's because he sees and goes. He's a little less patient than Rajay, and that's exactly what we need with our offense.
Yep. Go ahead.
I think one more thing is we said we got to play all 4 quarters, and I think we got to get on the board early because looking back at Tulane's history, they score early and they keep a lead early, even if they don't lose every game. They're getting in there early, but if we don't get in there till the second and third quarter, how are we going to win a game if they started at the top?
Right. This is the game that makes or breaks us being 500. So let's go for it. We got to go big. We're at home in front of the homecoming crowd.
We got
Yep.
the winning streak.
Right. We're on the winning streak. Don't
Yeah.
let this be the one that breaks it. You don't want to go into UCF with a loss. We
Right.
need that momentum.
We're trending upwards. We have the momentum at the
Yes.
time.
Right.
Keep the gas or keep the pedal on the.
This is a
gas,
winnable game. It may look like
Definitely.
it's a big mountain. It may look like Everest if you're looking at the points that we've put up on the board and the points they put up on the board, but it's a winnable game, and I think that strongly because our history against Tulane, we've lost in the last couple of years, but we've definitely shown that we can move the ball down the field with them. Last year, I think Holton had somewhere over 200, 300 yards passing, but we had negative running yards. So we've proven we could
Which
throw
is a
the
big
ball,
problem. That's a
which
problem.
is
Yeah.
a big problem.
Yeah.
But even then, I think in the fourth quarter, they were still trying to establish the run, and at that point, in my opinion, the run's trashed. You got to just throw that ball. If you're throwing 300 plus yards against the Tulane defense, you got to move that. You got to move the ball any way you can.
Right.
And if that's passing, you got to really lean into that. So I'm hoping we do that this year. Come out slinging early, just like we did for South Carolina. We've really been trying to get some juice off of these trick plays as we've been going, though.
Yeah, a
About
little
a
bit.
trick play a year, trick play a game. And some of them have worked out. I think we have a couple touchdowns off of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then sometimes they don't. But I like the gutsy play calls. I think that's what our defense. I think that's the spark plug for our offense and really helps us moving into the, especially since we usually pull them out pretty early.
I like keeping the defense on their toes like
Yeah,
that. So
those
that's a
are
good thing.
exciting.
Yeah,
Those
they
are
are
exciting
definitely
to watch.
exciting for sure. So there you have it. Tulane playing East Carolina this weekend, this Saturday, October the 2nd, 3:30 start on ESPN Plus. I'll send it over to Max, who's got a few announcements here with soccer, I believe.
Yeah, so for any of you that were at the SMU game, you guys know that we fell a little bit short. But definitely, I was intrigued by the ending of the game. I think our girls played very good coming into the ending of the game. A lot of opportunities just weren't able to convert. We missed several shots by about a foot or less coming into the game, really keeping them on their toes. And I know I'm the big, moral victory guy on the show. I really like to talk about how I think that's a win. It's tough coming out late in the season. We can't be losing games, especially when we have the opportunity to put 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 shots on goal that are quality shots late in the game and just come up with nothing. And we would have come up with them if we didn't miss them by a little high. So I think that's something the girls need to work on. Definitely get that ball down a little bit, place a little bit better at the top of the net. But I love the ideas. They really push the ball hard later on, but we need to learn to push it early. We play a passive offense at the beginning of the game, play strong defense. Our defense isn't bad. I mean, we've never really had a game where it looks like it's too out of hand because they've scored too much. It's out of hand because we're not scoring at all.
Right.
And so I think our turnout was not as good. I want to see more fans, more students over at the soccer game, but excited to see what they do the rest of the season.
I agree. These girls definitely don't give up, and the AAC soccer is not easy at all.
No joke.
With USF, UCF, SMU, those are hard teams. So if we can even compete with them, I think, like you said, that's a moral victory for them. So they got a game coming up Thursday at 7:05, but it's at Cincinnati, and then they will be back at home for homecoming, and they will play Sunday, October 3rd at 4 p.m. And we also have volleyball going into a game. 5-6 is their record. They will be playing SMU at home Friday, October 1st at 6, and then they will also be playing Sunday as well, October 2nd at noon, both home games. So make sure you go out and see them.
Very good. There you have it. Well, another episode in the books here of TECSpertZ episode 5. Thank you all for listening and watching along here. Anthony, Max, Markayla, and Brendan signing off here. Just know that TECSpertZ is sponsored by the Big Vape Theory and East Carolina University's Office of Undergraduate Research. And TECSpertZ is a collaboration between WZMB and the East Carolinian. Thank you all very much. We will see you next week.
All right,
See you next
thank
week,
you.
everybody. Go Pirates.